Okay, so good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. This is Caroline Henry, and I am here with Don Kavanagh, who is my editor at Wine Searcher, and we are going to talk stats, one of my favorite subjects. I think Don likes it as well. So, Don,
I do.
tell us a little bit about yourself and about Wine Searcher, and then we'll get into the questions.
Okay, well, about myself, I'm a journalist who's also been heavily involved in wine for 30 odd years, 35 years now. Um, I started off working in a little wine shop in London. Well, it wasn't a very little one, actually, it was quite a big one in West London back in 1991. And that's where my wine journey began. Prior to that, I was very much a beer and whiskey drinker. And but because I was selling it, I thought I better get to know what I'm selling. So I started drinking wine. I fell in love with it, of course, like everybody does eventually. Um, but then I was also working as a journalist. So finally, after many years, I was able to combine both, which, as somebody once pointed out to me, is the perfect job for an Irishman, which is writing about drink. Um, and it's certainly been better than many other careers I could have gone into, like labouring or or bartending, which I've also done, but I
Praise
managed to
God.
avoid them.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so that's how I came in, and I ended up at Wine Searcher
Mhm.
12 years ago. Um, Back when Rebecca Gibb MW
Yes.
was the editor, and
I remember those days.
I bet you do. Um, I remember one of your stories was one of the first stories I ever subbed as her first ever sub editor. Um,
Oh,
um, I remember thinking, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" No, I'm joking. Um, it was and so Wine Searcher, of course, most people I hope will know what Wine Searcher is. We're the biggest wine database on the internet. We are effectively we started off 25 years ago as a actually almost 30 years ago now, really, as a wine comparison website.
mhm.
So it was all about um, transparency for consumers. And that's effectively what we've been ever since. We've been very much a part of the transparency end of the wine industry, um, which I think personally is marvelous because I think there's far too much Nacht und Nebel, as the Germans say, sort of cloak and dagger about wine.
Yeah.
A lot of there's far too many people gatekeeping it and trying to cloak it in mystery and mystique to keep
Mhm.
the plebs out, which is sort of coming back to bite wine on the bomb right now as we speak.
Yes.
If people hadn't been so all fired up about keeping the plebs out of the wine cellar, they wouldn't be struggling to sell to sell wine as much as they are now. But anyway, such is life. But that's a little bit about me and Wine Searcher. Of course, we're still the biggest wine website on the internet. We've grown. We're obviously bigger than just merely price comparisons now. We have no idea how much data we have, and we have like billions of data points. We have a huge data warehouse, which is obviously it's a virtual warehouse, but
Yes.
even thinking about it, it just reminds me of some weird cavern underneath Gormenghast Castle. It just reminds me of some of those really really gothic um, cellars you have in Champagne, but just that goes on to infinity. Um,
Well, the Avenue de Champagne has 100 kilometers of cellars. So,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
on different levels, obviously, because the street really isn't that long. But
But anyway,
so
yeah, so there
on.
we are. So these days we do all sorts. So, obviously we've got the news section, which I'm very much involved in, and the encyclopedia section, which has every single grape variety and pretty much every single AOC or appellation that there is on Earth. We've also got thousands of profiles of thousands of producers,
Mhm.
so forth. We have reviews and scores from hundreds of reviewers. We have our own. scoring system, which is just basically the aggregate of all the critics that we follow. So it's the aggregate of the aggregates almost, and it's basically, we like to think it's the most reliable way of, if you're looking for wine scores,
Yeah.
just have a look on Wine Searcher. You'll find it here. And we also, I mean, these days you can even buy your wine directly through us. So it's, I mean, we don't, we're not out there shilling for wine, but we do connect with certain um, uh, retailers
Yeah.
who will ship the wine to you directly from our site. So you don't even have to leave our site really these days. So yeah, it's a big business. We're a
That's it.
big concern.
Okay. So, um, with all this data that you have, so as you said, one of my stories was the first one you were there. I started writing for Wine Searcher 14 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, I have mainly written on champagne. It's the odd other piece where I take generally more regions in the story, but I've stayed faithful to the champagne region for better or for worse. But
Well,
that's it.
I sometimes wonder whether or not champagne has stayed as faithful to you.
Well, let's say that that is a contested subject, which we don't need to discuss today. Uh, like so the for instance, like have have you seen, because Wine Searches has these pieces every so often which says like, you know, uh the the most popular champagnes, or the
Yeah.
most
Yep.
most popular wines, are these
Mhm.
things. So I guess these are based on the amount of searches that people do. But when people do a search, do they search for a brand, or do they just search for the word champagne as such, or even sparkling wine? I don't know.
Well, they do both, really, to be honest. Champagne obviously is the most popular sparkling wine search we do.
Mhm.
I mean, it's triple, quadruple probably what prosecco searches are, for example,
Okay, all
and
right.
and prosecco would be the second biggest.
Okay.
Um, Not we don't get a lot we do get some for sparkling sometimes, but not really, because to be honest, people kind of know what they want. So if,
Yes.
if people are looking for champagne, they're looking for champagne. If people who drink sparkling wine, if they drink prosecco, they'll search prosecco. If
Okay.
they drink Franciacorta or Cava, they'll search for those. The only times where you see sparkling wine is usually in countries that don't have a designation for sparkling wine.
Mhm.
So, for example, um, Central Otago here in New Zealand, for example,
Yeah.
but just for the listeners, the viewers, I'm based in New Zealand. Um, or California, whereas
Yeah.
South Africa's got Cap Classique,
Yes.
um, and even Marlborough has Method Marlborough these days.
Oh my God.
Excuse me.
Method Marlboro.
No, it's not really holding together that well, and it never really took off. But there you go. But I mean, really, the big ones are champagne, and I was shocked and stunned to find that while champagne sales might be on a bit of a sticky wicket at the moment,
Yeah.
certainly they're not even treading water at the moment, are they? They're kind of going backwards. But
Yeah. They are like they peddling. Let's put it that way.
yeah, yeah. But interest in champagne hasn't really been higher in a long time on our site.
Okay.
Um, it's interesting. I just checked. I just had a look at the past 5 years.
Yeah.
2025 was easily the highest number of searches. So almost 17 million searches for champagne
Wow. That's
in 2025. Now that's compared to, in 2024 we had 14.4 million. And in
okay.
2021, which was a it was a big year. Certainly for us, we had a lot of traffic because
Yes.
in 2021 there were still a lot of people who were sheltering in place or locked down or whatever, and consequently, the online retail markets went boom and
Mhm.
just flew. Um, and yet in 2021 we only had fewer than 14 million searches for champagne.
Okay.
13.8 million. So it's 24 to 25. There's a 16.6% increase, which is
Wow.
in just that's just in searches for champagne. It is it surprised me, to be honest.
And
Um
and is that on the search engine, where you can see, the price
yep,
comparison one? Okay.
yep. And
All right. And
and
that's just the word
of those
champagne. That's
searches,
not a
that's
specific
just for
brand.
champagne itself.
Okay. Wow.
A lot of people will be because I know there's a bit of a there are two camps about champagne. Well, there are at least two camps about champagne. There are the people who love the big houses,
Hmm.
the big brands, and there are the people who love the little guys that grow champagnes,
Hmm.
the the more oddball wines, and so forth. Well, the it's the big houses that won out really with
Yes.
individual brands. The top 10
Normally.
brands are all prestige cuvées.
Oh, prestige cuvées.
Yeah. Dom
Okay. Well.
Perignon by a country mile is the biggest.
Okay.
The the
Yeah. It's
the, the
it's the
standard
biggest
classic Dom
volume as
Perignon,
well. Yeah.
it twice as much as the second highest searched champagne, which is Louis Roeder Cristal.
Okay.
But Dom Perignon's up what in last year had 1.14 million searches.
1.14.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, Louis Roeder had 541,000.
Okay.
And
Yeah. So
then
it's
yeah, third is Krug, 369,000. Then Salon, Cuvée S, 352,000. And Taittinger, Comte de Champagne, 288,000. Below that, then you got Bollinger Grand Année, Dom Perignon P2, Dom Perignon Rosé, Bollinger RD, and Paul Roger Cuvée Winston Churchill.
yes.
Um, so, I
Oh,
mean, this is literally a who's who of Grand
yes.
Marque champagne, isn't it?
It is. It's for me. To me, this is actually very interesting because one of the things I wrote not long ago is when you look at the figures, seeing that the turnover basically remained the same, and we have seen champagne deals because people are struggling to sell it. So entry level is sold off a little bit cheaper than it has been in the past. That means that Cuvée Prestige continues to do well, and I think that people are drinking maybe less champagne, but they are drinking more prestigious champagne. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that is probably very interesting that they are looking for those wines. And obviously to see where they can get it. And I think at that moment in time it's maybe not that important if they pay, I don't know, 150, 200 dollars or wherever they are for it, um because they just want that particular brand. um, so,
true,
because
true.
because Cristal is not cheap, nor is
No,
Dom Perignon
yeah,
actually.
not all. I mean, let's be honest, none of them are cheap. I mean, that's another interesting thing. If you have a look at the average price of champagne, like the
Yeah,
average price of a basic bottle of champagne, um, you just your champagne blend, champagne brut, non-vintage. It's currently sits at across all the thousands of retailers
yeah.
that we excuse me that we follow. The average price is $58 US,
Okay.
$58.50 for a bottle.
Wow,
Now,
that's
it's
not that
amazing to
expensive
think.
actually.
Well, it is, but it's amazing to think that it's gone up from $45
Okay.
then 12 years ago. It's
Oh, so
13
that's
years ago.
12 years ago it was 45, and now
Yep.
it's 50. So it's really not that much if it's over 12 years.
It's not over that space of time for it to go up what $13. Um, it's not a lot at all. I mean, it's effectively if you look at the average price of champagne, if you want to know what the average price of champagne is, look at the average price. Just check out a bottle of Moët de Chandon,
Okay, yeah.
the standard brut imperial Moët de Chandon. That
Well,
is literally the most, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but is the most average champagne you can possibly come across. It is the closest wine to the average price of champagne that there is. And the graphs of the two of them over the past 10 years follow each other almost exactly, like so the benchmark for champagne generally and the price of a bottle of Moet. So
Yeah,
it's
well, they
we do
do
have a thing
have.
we call the Moet index here, where we work out the Moet, like the price of Moet, and we
Yeah.
see how things are doing based according to that, and how it's how it performs in different markets. It's quite an interesting little idea, but it's
Hmm.
yeah, it's kind of interesting, really, what the how they go. So 15 years ago, it was $44.50,
Hmm.
and now it's, as I say, it's 58.50. So yeah, it's gone up $14 in 15 years, which
Yeah.
is, I would suggest, well below the cumulative uh, index for inflation over the same period.
Yes. It's and
Um,
it's very, very interesting because one of the things that a lot of people here in Champagne are saying is that champagne is not selling anymore because it is too expensive. So obviously, what you just said, counters that because we hear, oh, somebody tells me it's $80 there, it's this, but obviously you have that much data from
yep.
everywhere in the world. So, that it's probably not that much
Yeah,
more expensive. I'm actually
globally,
surprised that that is the average price. And I think part of the reason,
globally, that's the average price.
sorry?
And the range, the actual range,
Yeah,
well, let's say, let's have a look at, let's talk about Moet again, because I don't
yeah.
really have a range for the benchmark, but the benchmark price is 58.52 currently
Hmm.
at the moment, and the average price of Moet is $57.20.
Right.
The range available for Moet, which is quite interesting, given that you just said, oh, it's $80 somewhere. The range is $43.89 is the lowest you'll find it, and $81.13 is the most expensive. So somewhere between $40 and $80 it seems to be the the sweet spot for champagne. Well, it's certainly what people are selling it for globally.
Okay. All right. Well, that obviously is very interesting. Do you have, in comparison, for instance, prices of other sparkling wines to see if we really are that much more expensive?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at something that was sort of similar, or that was aimed at a similar audience, perhaps somebody away from Champagne who was making a wine that was, um, I'm just trying to, I can't find the one there. I'm just trying to find a decent cava, for
Okay.
example.
Well,
Um,
the best cavas today are Corpinat. But like, for
yes,
instance,
true, indeed. Yep, that's
so
exactly right.
sorry to say, but for instance, Gramona makes quite a lot of wine, of Corpinat now, but
Mm.
they're quite large. Or Juve Campe, one of those ones. They are quite big. Um, and
Yeah, so Gramona. Let's just have a look at Gramona for a moment. Um, so there's let's have a look at their products. So if we pick a sort of a medium priced one,
mhm,
um, Illustros Brut Nature,
yes,
for
yes,
example.
yeah, Illustrious, yeah,
Yeah. So here we go. It's the average price for that is $41.50.
yeah. So it's not really that
Um,
much difference.
no, it's not. And but the benchmark average price for all Cava blends from Catalonia
Yeah.
is $25.50.
Okay. And
So
do you know how that has
this,
evolved? Because Cava went up quite a bit from what I heard. Whether that's true or not is again a
well,
different story.
let's have a look. It really hasn't. It's gone in. Um, Let me see. Back in 2011,
Hmm.
it was $19.
Okay, so it hasn't gone up.
It's gone up $6 in 15 years.
Okay, I know it hasn't gone up that much. Now,
I mean, nobody really has the same. pricing ability that
Hmm.
um, that champagne does.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. I mean, if you look at something pretty basic in from Prosecco, for example, like La Marca, for example,
Okay.
big popular. You know, it's kind of the equivalent maybe of Moet de Chandon for
Hmm.
champagne. Um, that's average price is $18,
Okay.
and the benchmark price is $16.
Okay. So
So
it's
you know that's up from $12. So that's gone up $4 in 15 years. The
yeah.
benchmark there. So
But
it's
$4
champagne
on
has the ability to
four
go up.
dollars on $16 is a significant amount, though.
But it's 25%. This is true.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at it percentage wise, it is. But if you're looking at it in the quantum of how much you're actually paying,
Yeah.
it's it's hardly noticeable, to be honest.
No,
You know,
it's
it's
no.
about it's what 50 cents a year.
Yeah, no, it's not much if you look at like
Yeah.
that. But if you look at in percentage, then it looks more. Um,
Indeed.
so, but what I find very interesting is you gave me these prices for Cava, and we talked about Gramona. Obviously,
Yeah.
Corpinat is organic already. Cava is going completely organic by
Mhm.
2030. So, for consumers, if they are interested in more ecological stuff, that means that they can basically get two bottles for the price of one if they were to buy Cava. If I can
Well,
say it like
this is
that.
true. This is true. I mean, mind you, you've got the other end of the scale as well. You have the people who desperately want to be um, champagne, but aren't. But regardless, they're going to charge like they are anyway.
Okay.
And which so basically, I'm talking here about English sparkling wine,
All right.
um, which is
That's
it's a
it.
fine product. It's a fine product in itself.
Yes.
It has its fans, but the one thing I hear all the time about it is it's far too expensive.
Okay.
Um, and to be honest, it is. I mean, if you look at you're looking at a benchmark price of $48 a bottle, US.
Okay. It's almost the same.
That's that's yeah, exactly. And that's gone up from I can't find it now. Where's it gone? Uh, oh, there you go. It's actually gone up from $34 12 years ago or 15 years ago. Sorry, 12, yeah, so $12. Um, so that's 48. So it's gone up $15. I'll tell you. So it's basically keeping pace with champagne.
It is.
Um, now the problem is, and the difference is, um, the numbers is that how much champagne sells and how much English sparkling wine sells.
Yeah.
English sparkling wine may well say that we're from the same block of chocolate. Champagne is, where we've even got champagne houses over here now
Hmm.
making wine. But really, in England, sparkling wine seems to be, or English sparkling wine seems to be a refuge for people who are trying to minimize their tax exposure. To
Okay.
be honest, it really is. I mean, I mentioned before we started, I was talking to you that my son had a wine shop in London,
Yeah.
a wine bar in London, and they just couldn't sell English sparkling wine because
Okay.
at the price they were having to pay for it,
Yeah.
they couldn't justify those prices by the glass because they had much better champagne that was um, better quality wine but at a much better price. So
All right. Well,
champagne
that's
has its problems, but it doesn't. Trust me, they're not.
well,
They're not the
Don, you're
worst.
very good for my image here in Champagne. You're saying all the right things. I might go up in the books here a little bit.
You might
Uh,
get a Christmas card this year.
Christmas cards has been a long time ago. Let's put it that way. It's a good
Um,
thing I don't go for, I don't live for those specific things. What about, because I read there was an interesting article on Spanish sparkling wine this week that I
yes.
read. There are regularly articles on Prosecco. I have seen. Obviously,
Mhm.
there's some on champagne that I write, some that other people write. Um, are they? Are people more interested in reading about champagne than they are on the others, or is there like a curiosity to find out? I don't know about sparkling wine from Argentina, for instance. I have no idea.
No. I
No,
mean, the basic simple answer to that is no. When it
so
comes to
so don't move to Argentina, Caroline.
when it, when it comes to and the CIBC will be delighted to hear this, but when it comes to readership, champagne still rules.
Okay.
Really, if we're going to put the name of a region in a headline,
Hmm.
um, for us, the best one to put in will be Napa,
Okay.
regardless of whether it's good or bad. Napa, then Bordeaux, Burgundy, Champagne, maybe Bordeaux slightly ahead, and then I'd say maybe Champagne and then Burgundy.
Okay.
And after that, then Barolo, Tuscany, um, and then yeah, and then some other American ones. Mostly because our readership is skewed heavily towards
Yes.
the United States. Like we got
Yes.
about around 52% of our users are based in the United States. So
Okay.
obviously, anything that affects Napa, they're very interested in. Um, and but when it comes to sparkling wines, people don't really care about anything that's not champagne, really.
No.
Well, I say that I don't really mean that
Oh, no, no.
as a good
Continue.
sound.
Continue. This is good.
But,
Good for
but
me.
what it means is that like nobody. I mean, yes, we ran a story about Spanish wine, um, and we've written stories about Prosecco. Prosecco gets a few, but I mean, we've written stories about Franciacorta. Nobody's read them. I mean, we publish them because they're good stories, and I mean, sometimes they fall into the dull but worthy category of news story, and that it's something that we should be writing about, and
Mhm.
perhaps that other people aren't really writing about enough.
Mhm.
And so, even though we know that we're not going to get the same level of readership as we would if we'd written that, you know, like for example, Spain's Sparkling Wine Revolution by Kathleen Wilcox, a lovely story
I loved
as
it.
ever,
Yes.
beautifully written by Kathleen. She's a wonderful writer. Um, but the problem is, we yesterday we put out a story saying California awash with
Mhm.
unsold wine. I guarantee that will get at least four times the number of readers, at least four or five times the number of readers, if not more. That's not a criticism of the story. It's just the reality that people are more interested in California than they are in Spain.
And and
Does that mean we're going to stop writing about sparkling wines from around the world? No, of course
okay.
not. But I mean, we'll obviously be looking more at Champagne than probably anywhere else. And also because Champagne is the most interesting region.
Yeah.
I was there with you a couple of years ago,
Yes, you
and
were.
it
That was
really
so cool.
opened my eyes. I hadn't been there for a long time, and it surprised me what the place looked like. Your stories on herbicide use have been brilliant, and they've been amazingly well read.
Oh, Don, I was doing
Honestly,
so well. I was doing so well. Now you bring this up.
but well, I know, but I mean, listen, honestly, anybody who goes there, an amateur who went to Champagne will go, "Why does it look like this?"
I know.
I mean, it's so obvious, glaringly obvious to the naked eye. There's all this greenness, and then there's just this dead earth. I mean, it literally looks like it did in 1918.
Mm,
I mean, it's just it looks like something out of The Martian.
yeah, I
Um,
know.
uh, and I mean, they're going to have to sort it out. And instead of just talking about it, I would suggest perhaps do something about it. I
Well,
mean, I know sales are down. I know people are worried. There's stasis there. Some growers are not able to make ends meet. I realize this, but if they want to, I think anyway, if they just this is just my 2 cents worth. If they want to preserve the heritage of Champagne and keep
Yes.
Champagne in its, I would suggest, rightful place at the top of the sparkling wine world. And indeed, in the wine world generally,
Hmm.
it's always among our top regions for searching.
Yeah.
When people search through regions, um, it's they should take care of it because if they don't, if it's just going to wither and die.
Yeah. I know. It's
Um,
You're right
especially as
about that.
especially with the
I
new
have tried,
generation.
Don. I am
It,
I am the
there's a new
ambassador.
generation.
I've earned the title of being enemy number one. For writing what I write.
Like,
I get kept out of press conferences. It's
if you're not annoying someone with your writing, it's just advertising.
I guess so.
It's I mean, it's this. I mean, that's that old line that's always attributed to William Randolph Hearst. Um, News is something that someone somewhere doesn't want published. The rest is just advertising. Um,
And that's
and
funny.
it's
Um,
not often I agree with media barons, to be honest, but it's just on my day. But I mean, when you look at it, there's a new generation of people coming through who
mm,
really are a lot more environmentally focused than their parents were or their
yeah.
grandparents were. And it's people of their parents and grandparents' generation who were responsible for the wine industry as we have it today. And they're going to have to realize that if they want to remain relevant to the newer generation coming up, they're going to have to get on board with the new generation's ideas,
Yes.
whether or not they believe in it themselves. And it's amazing how many winemakers you still find who, on the one hand, will tell you, "Oh yeah, absolutely, things are much different than they were 20 years ago, and we're picking grapes 3 weeks a month earlier than we were." And in the same conversation, we'll turn around and say, "Oh yeah, that whole scam about global warming." There's a really weird, um, um, magical thinking going on there, where at the one point they're actually seeing the effect of
Yeah.
climate change and in the same breath denying that it exists and that it's just a rort to get more money out of people. But and as long as there are a lot of people, a lot of shareholders who control a lot of funds and who want instant return on their money, will never really take environmentalism seriously, I don't think. But we're going to have to.
I think the customers, we live in a capitalist world, so there's a world of demand and supply. And
Hmm.
today there's a lot of supply for which there's no demand. So eventually
Exactly.
you're going to have to change. It's the laws of economics. So that's
Indeed.
just a
Either
John.
either that or either that or there will be a lot of brandy being made in the next 20 years.
Well, that's it. Um, I have one last question. The
Mhm.
readership of Wine Searcher, besides being mainly based in America, people have told
Mm,
me that there's quite a lot of professionals reading, trade and sommeliers and,
absolutely.
journalists. Apparently, I don't know, but the CIVC also told me that I was plagiarized and quoted regularly. So, I don't know. They
Doesn't surprise
obviously
me.
they obviously monitor me more than I than I do. But do you know anything about the readership? Maybe in the pro part, are they many people from the trade, or is it a little bit
Yes,
everybody?
there are a lot. I mean, I wouldn't want to put a percentage on it
No,
necessarily,
no.
but there is. I mean, from people who are actually, um, I would definitely suggest that a good 30% at least would
Okay,
be from the trade. I mean, and when I say from the trade, I mean either owners, buyers, um, sommeliers,
hmm,
obviously, um, chefs. Oddly enough,
yeah,
read us. Um, but the rest of it, I mean, if you want to look at the average profile of a wine searcher reader is
all the
marginally
secrets are coming up.
slightly more male than
Okay,
female. Older, probably 45 to 65,
okay,
well off,
hmm,
and um, but committed to wine, as in
okay,
to buying it, to drinking it, to learning more about it. Um, we have an almost unique database of people who are genuinely passionate about wine, and
Okay.
so it gives us a unique opportunity to get to these people,
Hmm.
people who actually care, and people who are willing to spend money on wine, because they've already got a house, they've already got as
Hmm.
many cars as they need, they've already got a boat or whatever. They're a member of the four country clubs they particularly want to be a member of, and so consequently, what are you going to spend your money on?
Okay.
And a lot, but yeah, we're talking about cashed up. Basically, our average reader is a cashed up wine enthusiast, to the
Okay.
point of nerdy.
Very
Um,
good.
yeah. So it's a good place to be in. It's a wonderful market to be serving. I'll put it that way.
Yes. Yeah, it's in a way that makes sense that champagne stays so popular because obviously these people would be
Yeah.
more interested in that, and the bigger wine searcher grows, the more opportunity for champagne, but also other very good wine regions to sell more wine.
Well,
So
this
that
is
is
it.
that's the more people you reach, the better it is for everybody else in a way.
And this is also why we do stories on the lesser, or
Hmm.
perhaps the less popular regions, because it's a good service for us to be able to tell people about these places. We're doing a story. We've got a story coming up in the next few weeks on Eastern and Central Europe,
Oh, cool!
which there's some fantastic wines being made
Really
there
good
again.
wine. Yes, I know.
Um, I mean, I remember those wines from the end of the communist period. I remember 87 and 88 vintages of Cabernet from Bulgaria, and
Yeah.
they were spectacularly good. They tasted like they were just tasting like alcoholic blackcurrant juice, which is marvelous when you're getting into wine. And they used to make some beautiful Pinot Noirs in Romania back in the day. Exceptional Chardonnay from like Lake Balaton and
Yeah.
Hungary. Just
Well,
glorious
Hungary's
wines.
got
And
some
what's,
fantastic
what was it?
wines.
There's a wonderful
Slovenia,
Renaissance there.
yeah. There's,
There's a
I think
Renaissance there.
that's great. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that story when it comes out. So, thank you so much, Don, for all your time and
No problem.
for telling the story, which is actually a very hopeful story for Champagne.
I think so.
The fact that people continue to search for it, especially the people that we want, because the readership of Wine Searcher is the customers that Champagne want. To be on top of the
Exactly.
sparkling wine pyramid. This is the
No,
people that they would want. So I think this was a very positive talk, and hopefully it gets me some brownie points. We never know. But it's more difficult for them to understand because now they have to understand my South African accent and your Irish accent to know what we were
no,
saying, basically.
no. And look, it's a little bit of work. That's all that's required. It's an accent, not a speech impediment.
No, no, I'm not saying it's a speech impediment, but Don, I do live in France. Okay, I know, and I teach English, so I know how the the how can I say the lack of enthusiasm to try
It's
and listen to English is what
fair
I'm
enough.
what I'm trying to say.
Fair.
But
Well,
we can always
hopefully
hope. Thank you so very
someone
much
will
for
listen.
everything. Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
I'll
Bye
say, I
bye.
just hope.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
All the best,
Thank
Caroline. Talk soon.
thank you. Bye bye. Talk
Bye.
soon. Bye bye. Oops.